And we are back with the part 2 of the specific immunity. Once again, this is Dr. D. Here, last slide, we had talked about, last presentation, we had talked about the different types of antibodies. We said there is IgG, IgM, IgA, IgD, and IgE, of which the most common is IgG. The first to be made is IgM, and the least common is IgE. Why is it least common? Notice what it does. It will bind to the basophil and stimulate what? Inflammation. Do you want inflammation? Answer is what? No, right? So here, obviously, this makes sense. Okay, moving on. So here's the antibody action. So antibody directly binds to the antigens. It can bind several antigens, agglutination. It can activate complement cascade. What is complement cascade, by the way? Complement cascade was an alarm system, all right? It will result in inflammation and opsonization. What is opsonization? It will mark the cell for death, the infected cell for death. IgE antibodies can bind to the mast cells, and they will release the release of chemicals leading to inflammation. And these are also, once the antibodies are bound to the antigen, they are targeted by macrophage for phagocytosis, right? This is an important slide. Now here is the difference between a primary and a secondary response. What's a primary response? A primary response is when the B and T cells are first exposed to an antigen. That means basically is when your body is first exposed to a disease causing a foreign body. When you first get the disease, let me put it simply, all right? So what do you notice? If you notice this chart, if you have the disease for the first time, if you get the infection for the first time, the IgM is made first. Now this is not surprising because we said IgM is the first type of antibody, and it takes about 10 to 12 days to actually see IgM. IgG will come later, and it will come only after 15 to 17 days. So basically it takes about 10 days to build your immunity to see antibody IgM, all right? But if you have the disease the second time, in other words, you will notice that you've earlier had been exposed to that foreign body. This is the second time you're getting the disease. You will notice that the IgM is produced what? IgM is produced within 3 days, all right? IgG is produced within 7 days. So much faster. Why is that? So if you go back to your slide, you notice that entire process which is required for an antibody to be produced. A macrophage has to first swallow, engulf the foreign body, digest it, present it. Helper T cell has to bind to it. A B cell has to be activated. Excuse me. So all that will not be needed now. Okay. So you already have built up what? Memory cells, both T cells and B cells. So the memory B cells are going to be activated. And these memory B cells don't have to be immediately, will produce what? Antibody. And as the minute they start producing antibody, you are going to be in good shape. You'll fight the antigen. All right, here's a summary of immune response that you can read up and look. Now, here's the difference of the specific immunity. There are two types of specific immunity. There's active immunity and there's passive immunity. Active immunity is when you are actual contact with the antigen. In passive immunity, there is no contact with the antigen. All right. So here there is production of memory cell, and in this case there will be no production of memory cell. So the active immunity, when you actually get the infection, again can be naturally acquired or artificially acquired. Naturally acquired is direct exposure. You get the disease, you get the flu, you get, for example, you get malaria. All right. So here, artificially acquired can be where you are exposed to the antigens from vaccine. All right. We'll talk about vaccines in a few minutes. So passive immunity is, again, it can be naturally acquired. So here it is from the transfer of the antibodies from the mother to the child or to the fetus. So in the fetus form, naturally the IgG are going to cross over, right, via the placenta. Or if you remember, the IgA is going to be produced in the colostrum and the baby gets it. Either case, this is naturally acquired. Artificially acquired is when you are going to transfer the serum containing the antibodies from one person to another, from one person or from an animal. So often a rabbit is injected with the antigen, and then what happens is the serum is collected, the plasma is collected, the serum is collected, and then what happens is the antibodies are collected from the plasma and it is stored and then artificially provided. Okay. What's a vaccine? The vaccine is just a very supplied pathogen, and it is inactivated or dead pathogens, or just a byproduct which is produced by the pathogen. What does it lead to? It leads to the production of memory cells, of course, from the antigen. All right. So here, you need to understand that vaccines from one strain don't work against another. And this is, of course, a type of active immunity. All right. So here, naturally acquired passive immunity, we talked about artificially acquired, giving antibodies. Like some people are given anti-venom from a snake bite. There's no time to make memory cells. The person will die. Or ROGAM shots is also given to an Rh negative mother. All right. Please look at my previous presentation on blood typing. Natural acquired passive immunity, you know, pregnancy and childbirth. All right. So with this, we come to an end of our presentation. If there are questions or concerns, please come and see me. And I thank you for listening to me and for your patience of going through with this presentation. Thank you. Have a great day.